Chapter 27 After. On the bus ride home from school, my grandfather holds up his science textbook. He must be running low on laundry because he's wearing a cast shirt from my mother's production, Hair. It's tie-dyed, and I think of Star Lily. T. Melvinus will have its own chapter in here now, he crows. Yeah, I say with a forced smile. He starts paging through the sections. Where would it most likely make sense for them to put it? When we get home, my grandfather heads to the kitchen for a snack, but I'm not hungry. My stomach feels a little weird, so I go into my bedroom and lie down. I can't stop thinking about mummies. It's so creepy. The dead waiting to come back to life. Maybe there's a reason there's monsters in horror movies. I look around my room with my new eyes, and what I observe makes me question everything. The handprints on the wall. As people grow older, will hands get smaller instead of bigger because of T. Melvinus? I think of the pink bow on my dresser from my birthday present. Will people have fewer candles on their cake every year because they're getting younger? I feel like Galileo. My vision of the universe suddenly upended. Before I know it, I find myself sitting at the computer, looking up the atomic bomb in Oppenheimer. All at once, I need to know about the after. What happened after the bombs were dropped on Japan? Images flash across my screen. Smoke, crushed buildings. The article says that no one knows for sure how many people died from the bombings. One estimate puts the final death count at 185,000. I'm good at math. I try to make this number something I can actually understand. There are thinking about how many kids in my town, how many people in my town. I can't help but think about how horrible that is. And that's not even counting everyone else. My head swims. What if it happens again? Like Mr. Ham said, the genie is out of the bottle. Oppenheimer's words ring in my ears like 1,000 bombs going off at once. We knew the world would not be the same. My grandfather's at the kitchen counter with his laptop, eating a burrito and drinking tea. The words bubble up out of me. What will they write? I ask him. About what? About us in the textbooks. What will they write? He stares at me. I mean, they say that Melvin Sargowski and Ellie Cruz changed the world? Or that we ruined it? Ruined. We're saving people from old age, just like polio. Ruined. But old age isn't the same as polio, I say. He shakes his head. What's gotten into you? This is science. It's how discovery works. I believe in science. But what if it isn't a good idea? What if we're not Salk? What if we're Oppenheimer? What if T. Melvinus is like a bomb? Nonsense, he says, and turns his head back to his computer, dismissing me. Oh, my friend Brianna likes you, I burst out. He turns to me with a perplexed look. Who's Brianna? My friend. Ex-friend. I don't even know who she is anymore, but it doesn't matter. I'm like a widower. I have no interest in dating. He doesn't get it. He's like Marie Curie with the radiation. He doesn't see that it's going to poison everything. You're like a mummy coming back to life. You're not making any sense at all, he says to me, like he's speaking to a toddler who's having a tantrum. I stare at his tie-dyed shirt and I suddenly understand that Star Lily was trying to teach us, or what Star Lily was trying to teach us with the goldfish. Endings are sad, like goldfish dying, and Grandma's slippers, and Brianna and me. But beginnings are exciting, like discovering something I might be good at, making new friends like Raj. It's a circle of life, I say, remembering Star Lily's words. Things need to move forward, not backward. Who wants to move forward? Not me. My mind is racing now. I think of things not moving forward, like my mom. She's scared of making a mistake again, even though everyone can see that Ben's the perfect missing piece to her puzzle. What about the whole law of motion thing? You're supposed to keep moving, or you get stuck. Like Mom with Ben. She can do better than him, my grandfather says, ignoring what I'm really saying. But what if we've gone too far? What if we ruin the whole world? So dramatic, he observes. Just like your mother. What about the trash cans? I ask. I'll put them out tonight, he says. How's that going to work? When all the old people are young again, who's going to be in charge? Who's going to decide when to put the trash cans out and to turn up the heat? Who's going to be the grown-up? He looks momentarily off balance, as if he hasn't considered this. Then his expression hardens. You don't understand. You haven't had to live through this, he says. The words tumble from my mouth before I can stop them. But I want to. I look at him imploringly. Is growing up, growing old, life, is it so terrible? His eyes go still and he looks at me like he's seeing me for the first time. I take a deep breath, remembering the feeling of dancing on that dark floor and the music pounding through me and the possibility of something. I don't know what. So close. And I want to feel that again. Because I want to try it, I whisper. I'm only 12. The garage door rumbles again. Mom walks into the kitchen carrying bags of takeout. I picked up Chinese, she says with a smile. And yes, Dad, I got you your usual with extra soy sauce. He stares at the bags and then at me. I'm not hungry, he says and walks out. My mom turns to me. Guess there's a first time for everything. Chapter 28, Observation. I'm wearing my warmest sweater, but it does nothing to warm the chill between me and my grandfather. At the lunch court, he eats his lunch in 2 bites and then races off. What's going on with you guys? Raj asks me. We had a fight, I say. What about? Just stuff, I say. As if stuff can be described in a disagreement about the fate of all humankind. My mom hates having a half-empty theater on opening night, so she enlists me to help fill the unsold seats for our town. She gives me a ton of free tickets to pass out around school. During science class, I ask my friends if she'd like some, or if they'd like some. They're free, I explain. My mom's the director. Sure, they all say. Will you be going? I make a face. Oh, I'll be there. They all laugh. I know the feeling. I have to go to all my brother's soccer games, my one friend says. Then another says, do you want to do something after? Maybe get some frozen yogurt? I smile. That sounds great. Our Town, the play, opens on Friday night. My mom's already at the theater, getting everything ready, so Ben drives my grandfather and me over. My grandfather is wearing a jacket and a tie. I expect him to complain about having to see the play, but he's unusually quiet. The theater is packed. I guess all my hard work paid off. I wave at my friends, who look like they have brought their entire families. We settle down in our seats. The house lights go dark and the curtains come up. Maybe I was too young when I saw all those times before, because this time it's interesting. Or maybe it's the actors. My mom was right. The kids playing Emily and George are great, especially Emily. She starts out as a teenager. She grows up, gets married, and then dies while having her second baby. After she's dead, she comes back to Earth for one day as a 12-year-old, just like me. She has a line about whether anyone understands life when they're living it. I get what she's trying to say. Life is precious, and we don't realize that all the time. But maybe life's also precious because it doesn't last forever. Like a amusement park ride. The roller coaster is exciting the first time, but would it be as fun as if you did it again and again and again? I can't help myself. I glance at my grandfather. His eyes are locked on Stade's, transfixed. As if sensing me looking at him, he glances at me. Our eyes meet and hold. Something in his face softens, and I think for a moment that he gets it too, that he understands. But then he blinks and looks away. The play gets great reviews. They even get a standing ovation on closing night. But at home, there's no clapping, no encore. It's just me and my grandfather not talking to each other. I put a new packet of ponytail holders out for him in the bathroom as a sort of a peace offering, but he just leaves them there. Part of me wants to smooth everything over, tell him I was wrong, but deep down, I know I'm right. The world isn't ready for Team Elvinus. I wonder if this is what it's like to be a scientist, to believe in something so strongly that you're willing to go against everything, even someone you love. Maybe I'm a little bit mad after all. The house is empty when I get home from school. My mom's at the high school, striking the set. My grandfather and I go our separate ways, me to the kitchen and him to the bathroom. I'm full of nervous energy and decide to cook something. I flip through my grandmother's recipe box and settle for her favorite, quiche. I make sure we have all the ingredients: flour, butter for the crust, eggs, ham, cheese. There's only one block of cheese, and it's way back in the back of the refrigerator. When I pull it out, I realize that it must have been in there for a long time because there's fuzzy blue-green mold growing on it. My first reaction is to be grossed out. But my second reaction is to be intrigued. I kind of want to see what this looks like under a microscope. I get my microscope and set it up on the kitchen counter. I scrape off some of the mold, put it on the slide, and look through the eyepiece. It looks like delicate threads. My grandfather walks into the kitchen, carrying the catcher in the rye. The toilet's clogged again, he tells me. What are you looking at? I feel awkward explaining it to him. I was making quiche, but the cheese was all moldy, so I decided to observe the mold under a microscope. He gives me an unfathomable look and says, "Of course you did. That's what a scientist would do." I don't know what to say. My grandfather holds up the book. I finished it. It was good. My mouth drops open. It was? Yes. I judged it prematurely, and I was wrong about it. He hesitates. About other things, too. He plucks an apple from the bowl of fruit. It's red and bruised, almost starting to go. You were right, he says with a lift of his shoulders. I hold my breath, waiting, hoping. He looks at the apple. The seed is planted. It grows into a new tree. The fruit ripens, falls onto the ground. He takes a bite. Juice drips down his chin. And then it starts all over again. The circle of life. I don't need to be Galileo to make that observation. I swallow. Science is powerful. There are always consequences, wonderful and terrible. I suppose I lost my way for a moment in all the excitement and forgot what Salk said. What did he say? His eyes meet mine. Our greatest responsibility is to be good ancestors. I nod. Then he heaves a great sigh. I guess this means I won't be getting my Nobel. Scientists don't give up. You can still get one someday. For something even more important, something that nobody's ever done before. And what would that be? He asks, sounding skeptical. I point to the pimple on my chin. Finding a cure for acne. That would be revolutionary. He shakes his head. Enough about all this. Is the plunger in the garage? I needed to clear the toilet. It took a few tries to get the Team Elvinus down. You flushed it? Why didn't you just put it in the trash? He scoffs. The trash? Your mother would probably forget to put it out. Then the raccoons would get into it and eat it. And who knows what would happen next. Vicious raccoons that never get old, rampaging around the neighborhood? We laugh. Chapter 29. Happy Beginnings. Nicole calls to tell my mom that she wants her old babysitting job back. The ear-piercing place is not turning out to be a great opportunity, though she thought it would be. My grandfather greets this news with enthusiasm. It's time for me to move on my way, he informs us. I look at him in horror. You're leaving? I'll be back, don't worry about that, he says. I have to make sure that you get into a decent PhD program. But who's going to look after you? My mother exclaims. You're 13 years old. My grandfather gives my mother a steady look. Melissa, we both know this isn't working out. There are things I want to do that I need to do, and I'll look after myself. I'm a grown-up. She looks like she wants to disagree, but then purses her lips. Where will you go? I ask him. I'm not sure exactly. I thought I'd travel, take a bus ride. He pauses. See the country? I remember my grandmother's dream. My mother arranges for the movers to put everything from his apartment in storage. She also gets him a cell phone and puts him on our family plan so that way he can stay in touch on the road. On the day he's leaving, we wait for him at the bus station. He's bustling with people coming and going, rushing to catch buses leaving for everywhere. My grandfather's not sure where he's going. He says he has nothing but time and money. Will you be okay? My mother asks him. Of course I will. I have 2 PhDs, he says firmly. I hand him my going away present. What's this? He asks, surprised. He opens the wrapped box and looks at what's inside. My collection of ponytail holders. Tears prick at my eyes. I don't want him to leave. I grab him and hug him tight. I love you, I say. My grandfather hugs me back and whispers in my ear, I believe in you, Ellie. You're my possible. I watch him board the bus and I know I will never look at a bowl of fruit or cheese or anything ever in the same way again. It turned out that what I needed to teach me about life was my grandfather. He was the 14th goldfish. Everything's back to the way it was before, but it doesn't feel the same. The house is oddly empty. Who knew you could miss the smell of teenage boy socks? I decided my room needs a makeover. I don't want it to look at all those little handprints anymore. My dad helps me one weekend when he's home. We paint the walls a deep sea blue. We use glow-in-the-dark paint and add jellyfish near the ceiling. When I lie in bed at night, it feels like I'm at the bottom of the ocean. Raj's brother started his college search. Raj and I go with him the day he checks out Berkeley. The campus is beautiful. The lawns are green and bustling with students. I can almost see Oppenheimer striding around, full of purpose. My friends and I have been spending a lot of time together lately. My friend Paige, she's into scary films too. We discover a whole category of old horror films about science gone wrong. Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, Tarantula, Godzilla, The Fly. Our favorite is Them. It's about a bunch of ants that turn into giant monsters after being exposed to radiation during the New Mexico atomic bomb tests. We even convinced Mr. Ham to do a class about monster movies and science. It's fun hanging out with another girl again. And there are other new beginnings too. When Ben comes over to take my mom out for dinner, she meets him at the door, dressed and ready to go, waiting like a teenager on her first date. He steps across the threshold of the house, which startles her. Yes, she says. He looks confused. But I know what she's saying. He looks confused, but I know what she's saying. I'll marry you. We have a small ceremony at City Hall with me as their witness. Ben wears a blue tie to match my mother's hair. I love happy endings, the judge tells the newlyweds. It's not a happy ending, I correct her. She looks at me quizzically. It's a happy beginning. I pay $20 to join the official Melvin Sargowski fan club. I'm the 232nd member. They mail me a welcoming kit from Finland. It includes a membership card and a t-shirt with a picture of my grandfather on the front. He's staring at the camera, a Melvin-esque expression on his face. I miss him. And then the slippers start arriving. Bunny slippers, fuzzy pink slippers, booty-lined slippers, leopard print slippers, zebra slippers. The latest package contains slippers that look like alligators with a postcard from St. Augustine, Florida. There's a picture of an archway that says Fountain of Youth on the back. My grandfather is including a mailing address and has written, Ha! P.S. My fan club has invited me to speak at their annual conference in Finland. I send him a care package with hairbands and another book by the author of The Catcher in the Rye. It's called Franny and Zoe. I'm working on a new puzzle at the kitchen table when Nicole walks in. It's Egyptian themed with a picture of the pyramids and King Tut's sarcophagus. Raj got it for me. Your mom called, Nicole tells me. She and Ben are going to be late. She said we could order pizza. My mother and Ben are meeting with a real estate agent and looking for a new house. Something bigger, with a toilet that doesn't get clogged and a yard so I can get a dog. We call for pizza and the doorbell rings 5 minutes later. That was fast, I say. When I answer the door, there's no pizza delivery kid. Instead, it's a van pulling away from the curb. Looks like you got a package, Nicole says. There's a box on the front porch. The label says, contains dry ice. What is it? She asks. I look at the label. It's addressed to my grandfather and is from somewhere in the Philippines. There's an envelope taped to the package. I open it, and inside is a handwritten note. And when I read it, my breath stops. It says, Dear Dr. Sargowski, I found a jellyfish even stronger than the last one. Thought you may want it. Billy. The beginning.